What's up, everybody? It's Jeff and Frank from Sacrament Media. This is our first co-video blog. We just wanted to take a couple minutes and tell you who we are, what we're about, go through the shirts that we have out. So who we are, I'm going to let Frank talk first.
I am a Cuban. I'm a Pisces. When we talk about who we are, individually?
No, as a company.
Oh, as a company. We both are students at Trinity College. I'm a youth ministry major and he's a worship major. Throughout our years there, we took a bunch of classes on various topics, and one topic that we really both enjoy, even though I'm a youth ministry major, is the topic of worship. In our worship classes, we probably learn more about theology than any other class. And one thing that we learned is the topic of what does it mean to be a sacrament, or what is a sacrament?
Yeah, like Frank said, we both go to school, and basically what all that means is that word sacrament is just basically an outward expression of an inward or otherwise unseen truth. So an example is the wedding ring. Both of us being married kind of makes sense to us, but you know, if you take off your wedding ring and you spit on it, stomp on it in front of your wife or your husband, if you know, your spouse, it is no longer just a piece of metal that you wear in your finger. It's something that means much more than that, and it represents something that you can't see. You can't see a marriage, but you can see the effects of the marriage. So in the same way, we know that God is unseeable, but Christ was seeable, and Christ became human. He came into the world, and he was the sacrament of God to the world in the flesh. So he was the visible truth of God who is unseeable. And in the same way, we believe that the church is the sacrament of Christ to the world. We know that Christ is coming again, but right now you can't physically see Christ, but you can see God's people. And so when the world asks, where is God, we should be able to point to the church, to the God's people, and say, there he is. Not in the sense that we become gods or little gods with little g's, but that we are the sacrament of God to the world. And so as me and Frank sat around and talked about, starting a company, we decided upon the name Sacrament Media because we feel like that represents what we're about the best, and that everything that we do, whether it's representing a band or making flyers or making business cards or printing stuff, whatever it is, we want it to be a representation of Christ. For those of you that know, we have our first two shirts in print. They're out. The first one is the Martin Luther shirt. And basically the story behind that one goes that Martin Luther was a Catholic priest around the year 1500. And he saw many of the perversions and the bad things going on in the Catholic Church at the time. He was able to stand up against that.
On October 31st, he posted the 95 Theses on the Catholic Church of Wittenberg, or better known as All Saints Church. In the 95 Theses, he was talking about the different injustices that the Catholic Church was doing at that time, mainly the practices of indulgences, and other various topics regarding the Pope and whatnot. So, and because of those actions, he wrote a few other things, other documents regarding the church and church practice, as well as, in the time, translating the Bible into his language of German. While he was doing all this, the Catholic Church obviously took offense to everything and brought him before the Catholic Church and asked him if he recanted on the works that he written. He was facing anathemas and being kicked out of the church and being condemned by the church, and he took a moment. He said, let me come back the next day before I talk about my works and whether or not I agree to them or not. And then he went home and prayed about it and came back the next day and frankly just said, I cannot recant what Christ has showed me and the Holy Spirit has taught me through the reading of the scriptures, that what we're doing in the church at that time was an injustice to the gospel. And he did not recant, and because of that was the beginning of the Reformation as well as the infancy of the Protestant church.
The second shirt comes from Micah 6:8. What it says is that exactly the verse. In that book, the prophet is asking God what is required of him, and God gives a pretty simple yet profound, while it's simple, it's also difficult answer: to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. We think that those three things, again, tie into being sacramental and to being the gospel, and not just telling the gospel to the world. One big thing coming up for those of you guys who missed the last concert, you missed a good show. I mentioned that in my own blog. These guys, Ocean Hysteria, did a great job. For those of you guys who haven't heard, this weekend coming up, November 13th and 14th, is This Is Generic Fest. If you haven't seen their clothing, check it out. It's some hot stuff. This is Generic Clothing. I believe it's myspace.com/thisisgeneric. Check it out. You guys should check out the festival. And in particular, one band you can check out that we are associated with named Heck Out of Dodge.
Ah!
Man, they just dropped an EP. It's good stuff. Great music, great lyrics. You should check it out.
Here's a sample right now.
Baby, I'm back. I'm from the end you got with me. What did you think
Check out their music. They're going to be playing there. If you need tickets, please go through them. You can go to our MySpace, and they're our top friend, sacramentmedia.com. Until next time, peace of the Lord be with you, and we'll see you then.